So I know last week we started off talking about the tetanus shot, right? And I was I was like debating, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna like book it, okay? So the first thing I asked him when I went in was like, how? So no, he opened with, why are you here? And I was like, oh, just to get a tetanus shot like booster. And he's like, nobody usually does that. And I was like, okay, explain to me why we need this thing. And he's like, no, like it's important to get, and but just nobody like follows through on it, you know? And then because like Tara hasn't gotten it, you said like you haven't booked one yet or anything, and like it's just it's not something that most people do. So he was like wondering why I wanted to do. I was like, yeah, my mom, like she's a nurse, so she just really wants me to get the tetanus shot. He's like, you can get it, like in different situations, and it is like prevalent, but just most people don't do it. Okay, so I'll just open with that. So I was like, okay, whatever, let's just get the shot. Like I had my full
Mm-hmm.
arm was like numb and stuff, and then I was like, okay, it's numb, it should be fine. So I know I've been talking about like the Zensa cream that I use for like tattoos. It's
Mm-hmm.
like numbing cream I use for tattoos, and it works, right? For tattoos. The first time I used it for the first COVID shot, it didn't work, but I blamed Tara for that. I was like, oh, it's because you didn't let me put it on long enough. And the second shot, I felt it a little bit, like kind of again. And then I was like, oh, it's because I wiped it off too early. So this time I gave it 2 hours, and then I took it off right before she put the injection in, and I still felt it. So I was like, okay, what the hell's going on? So I like was reading about it because I had numbing cream before when I was like younger, and
Mm-hmm.
it worked, right? Apparently there's like a different one that's actually for injections that like penetrates the skin. The one I have is more for like tattoos, so
The
it doesn't have the
surface
chemical
layer.
compound.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, surface layer. It doesn't go like deep enough. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Like I'll figure that part out. So that's not what I want to get to. So the first time I got the COVID shot, we were all talking about the adverse effects of getting a shot, right? And you're like, oh, if you get it, like you might react bad, or like this is an untested vaccine, blah, blah, blah. And then when I got that first shot, I started to think like I'm having an adverse reaction to the shot. So they rushed
Mm-hmm.
me to like this waiting area, and they made me like lie down, and then
Oh yeah, yeah.
um you remember I was telling you that, right? And then I was essentially going through a panic attack, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I asked her like, is this from the shot or is this from like my head? And she's like, no, this is all in your head. Like you would have had a different reaction to the shot if this was your shot. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like as soon as she said that, I snapped out of it and I like was fine. So then the second shot, it was like the second COVID shot, it was like, okay, this is kind of weird, but I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I got this shot, oh my God, they told me to wait outside for 15 minutes, and my mind just starts like, you're having a reaction. This is it. It was so gnarly, dude. It was like, oh, like I was getting nauseous. I'm like, no, this is just panic. This is just panic. Relax. Like, you know what this is, right? And I was using every yoga trick I knew, and I couldn't stop it. And I was like, oh crap, I'm going to throw up on this floor in front of
Mm-hmm.
everyone, right? So Tara's like, hey, my partner's having these reactions. They put me in the room again. They made me lie down. And I was like, okay, I'm feeling better. Like, let me just go. And they're like, no, we have to monitor you, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like both Tara and the doctor called it like vasovagal or something like that. And I told my sister, and it's like, she knew what it was. And
Mm-hmm.
basically what it is like a panic attack from having injections.
Okay.
So it's a thing. But then I was like, wait a minute. How come this is like this all started with the COVID shot? So something in my psyche is now being reinforced every time I get a shot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like it never happened before when I was like younger. This is like it like my very first time having this panic attack was the COVID shot. So something in there is like encoded now and it won't leave.
Right.
Even if it's not a COVID shot, it's like any shot now is like, oh, you're like going into reaction, like, and you can't break the thought spiral, which is crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking like I'm probably gonna try and find like a phobia therapist to see if there are any tricks I can learn for like breaking this, because yoga's not helping,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's weird too, because you're like they're like even the strongest minds have their breaking point, you know? You could learn all the tricks, but like when you're face to face with it, it's like how are you gonna react?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Weird, right?
I think it's also because it's like, see, people with like height phobia or whatever, right? It's like
Yeah.
you can like practice it more and more, right? What I mean is like you can go to places of height or in tall buildings or things like that. But
Oh, like exposure therapy.
yeah, you're getting more exposure to it, so it becomes more normal.
Yeah.
Where injections are not often. So,
Right. So how do I even practice this? Right. And then if it's based off of what happened last time, like my body learned that behavior. Like my mind was trying to like kick it out. It was like, hey, no, this is not, you're fine, you're fine. But my body was having like a physiological reaction to the fear.
right.
You know? And I knew it was a panic attack because like this scar over my eyebrow, I was in Montana and like I was watching these two people fight, and the girl slapped the bottle out of the guy's hand and it hit me in the face, right? But it didn't hurt, so I was like, oh, that's weird. And then like I was like, oh, that's funny. And then I started to feel like liquid, so I like touched it. I was like, oh, this is blood. So I ran to the bathroom and I saw all this blood on my face,
Ooh.
and I went into a panic attack and I threw up.
Okay. Yeah.
But
yeah,
it was because I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to like get stitches. Like, what
right.
does this
Right.
mean?
You went to the extreme scenario. What you do?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I knew the shot reaction was a panic attack. But it's like, how do you break a panic attack mid panic attack? And you're right. There's no way to like.
I mean, I don't know if there's a way that you'd have to talk to, as you said,
right,
a phobia therapist.
Figure that out. Right? Yeah. Because I'm like, okay, the spirituality's not working. Like spirituality got me to get the shot. I was like, okay, you're fine. Like, let's just go one step at a time. You know, like to do it. Like spirituality can get you there, and the discipline, because I hate shots, but it's like, what do you do after the fact? Like, what do you do when you're in like a freak out scenario? You know?
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting because it's like, wow, the mind is so powerful that I couldn't break it, you know?